Hello and welcome to Hexed Countered. My name's Joe. It is time for our monthly update for February 2024. I did not do one last month, so apologies for that. But I am going to do this one, obviously. So let's get started. So let's start by looking at our analytics for January. We did 15 videos and 4 shorts during January and got more views than ever before. And I do want to thank those of you who were a part of that. It was actually 34% more than usual, which is great, and up 11% over December, which was also a very strong month for the channel. The viewer mix was 59% new viewers and 41% returning viewers, so come on, returning viewers. But in terms of what was watched, 42% of it was content published in January, 21% was published between August and December of last year, and the remaining 37% was content that was older than 6 months old. So that shows some decent staying power for the oldies, I guess. The videos last month received 711 total likes, 50 content shares, and there were 90 comments made. So good engagement. I appreciate everybody who watched, shared, subscribed, and liked and commented. Great stuff. Thank you very much. Now looking at the actual numbers, our views for the month were 17,310. The total watch time was 2,138.7 hours, and that was a 24% increase over December's numbers. There were 146 new subscribers, which was a 27% increase over last month, or the previous month, I guess I should say. And all of that adds up to a strong month, and again, I just want to thank everybody for their support. So what was the top content for January? Well, let's do our usual countdown of the top 10, starting as always with number 10. In this case, that's Kason 68 from Decision. Now it's a folio game and I really enjoyed it. And though it did come in 10th in the terms of the number of views, it actually had the largest percentage of average view time. So that's the percentage of time as of the whole video that people watched. And for this video, it was actually 21.7%. Now you may say that doesn't sound like a lot, but YouTube videos, generally speaking, and mine is certainly indicative of this, only probably average somewhere between 10 and 20% typically, because I guess it depends on the content. Mine is apparently not all that compelling, but 21.7% is actually a pretty good number. Now number 9 was a video that was nearly a year old. That it would be the first part of the Prokhorovka campaign playthrough from Microprose's Second Front PC game. That's a game I really enjoy, and I suspect the reason for that performance can be seen in the number 8 video, which was the playthrough of the new content for Second Front that was released last month as part of its free DLC called Bully, Beef, and Biscuits, which added the British Commonwealth forces to the game. Number 7 was the Soviet solo gameplay video for Enemy Action Kharkov. This was my first video on this game from Compass, designed by the great John Butterfield, and as is generally true of games designed by him, this one is a real gem. I did do content on both the Soviet solo and German solo. The German solo was done primarily through shorts, which is something I haven't done a whole lot of before, but I'm dabbling in it a little bit. Moving on to number 6, that went to another oldie, which was the base game playthrough video for another PC game, this one Valor and Victory from Slytherin, which is an adaptation of a tabletop tactical war game, squad level. Another game that I really enjoy, and one that has had several DLC releases and updates since its release. I do have several videos on this game and its DLC content on the channel already. Now we move into our top 5, so starting at number 5, we get a playthrough of the digital adaptation of the C3I published and Mark Herman designed Gettysburg. The digital adaptation is true to the original, and that, coupled with Mark Herman's streamlined design, makes this a game I heartily recommend. And number 4 is the first look and setup video for the game The Plum Island Horror. While this GMT game is not technically speaking a war game, or at the very least it's not a hex and counter war game, what it is a game designed by Herman Luttman, which generally means that it's going to be a great design And in this case, that's absolutely the case. This game's a blast and can be played both solo and co-op mode with multiple players. An excellent, excellent game. And number 3 was the first look at the second edition of Avalanche Press's game, Jutland. So this is a cornerstone of the Great War at Sea series. And this is also a game I plan on getting to the table and on video very, very soon. Coming in at number 2 is a classic. It is GMT Games' Wilderness War, which is a card-driven game on the French and Indian War that was published way back in 2001, and is the game that marked the Wargame hobby's introduction to the now legendary designer Volko Runke, who's done a lot of great stuff since then, but this was his first game, and it's a very, very good one. And the top dog for January was the solo gameplay example for the Plum Island Horror, and it basically crushed every other video I published last month. It even more than doubled up the views for Wilderness War, which was second. It was a fitting performance, as the game is, as I mentioned earlier, an excellent and thoroughly enjoyable game. So, with our top 10 in the can, you may ask what's on the docket for February. Well, even though we're a little over a week in, this is a leap year, so we have one extra day this month. Now, last year I did a publisher-themed month on Flying Pig Games, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and I toyed with the idea of doing another publisher, but given that we're already a week into the month, I won't be repeating that this time around, but I may look at doing it later this year. What I am planning on doing is continuing to dip into the backlog of games I have on my shelf that I have not done on video, or in too many instances I haven't even played yet, as well as mixing in some of our newer arrivals. Thus far this month, I've done some content for the Third Option, or just Third Option is actually the title. That's from Dan Verson Games. History Maker Golf from Play Games. The game Headquarters World War II from Slytherin, which is a PC game. And Panzer North Africa from GMT. Now there'll be another first look shortly, probably tomorrow. And I'll leave that one a mystery for now since it's coming up very soon. It'll be followed by gameplay video for B-17 Flying Fortress Leader, which is a game I meant to get to in January and failed to get to the table. Plus the aforementioned Third Option, and I'd also like to get something on the new game from Michael Ornella. That's called Manila the Savage Streets. Sorry. His follow-up to one of my very favorite games from 2023, which was Stalingrad Advance to the Volga. Time permitting, I'd also like to get Panzer North Africa on the table, as well as a few other things. I don't want to make too many promises because I always overpromise and underdeliver, I guess, in terms of what I'd like to do video-wise in any given month. So looking ahead to March, speaking of another month, I am toying with the idea of doing a naval theme for the month. Probably built around Jutland, the game Silent War 2nd edition or 2.0 from Compass. Bismarck, which is another, that is the Second World War at Sea, also from Avalanche Press. And also maybe one of the Gregory Smith submarine games and or Oceans of Fire, or maybe even Empire of the Sun, the Mark Herman classic on the Pacific War that I would dearly love to do some video on, but have never gotten around to doing that yet. So we'll see what happens there. Switching gears, I'd like to talk about a game designed by Kevin Bayer. Hopefully I pronounced his name right. He is a designer who did a game called Flight Command as a print and play game last year. I actually made a tabletop module for it and played it. It's a kind of an abstract air war game. It was very enjoyable and I recommend it. But that he has a new game out and it's called Skies of Victory. So this game, Skies of Victory, takes place a century earlier than Flight Command, which is kind of a modernish game, but it's the same kind of structure where you basically set up strikes and so on. Both of these games are available on Wargame Vault. They are print and play. As I said, well, I haven't played Skies of Victory yet, but the first game was very enjoyable and I do recommend it. And they are on Wargame Vault. As I mentioned, I am going to pop a link to them here for you to look at and use, hopefully to take a look at the game. As I mentioned earlier, I did a tabletop simulator module, which was fairly easy. And you can do that with a lot of these you know, print and play games if you don't want to actually print them out. But you can also print them out and play them that way as well. And speaking of that, another publisher that I really enjoy that does have a lot of content on Wargame Vault is Flying Pig Games and Tiny Battle Publishing, both from Mark H. Walker. And he, or they, I should say, have usually one or more games on sale on Wargame Vault. Well, they have a bunch of games for sale on Wargame Vault, but they tend to run like a weekly sale, and it changes up, and so you can get some of these games like Old School Tactical or Armageddon War or 65 or The Long Road or Crowbar. There's just everything that is done by, you know, Flying Pig Games, which everybody I think knows based on the fact that I did an entire month on their stuff last year. They know that it's kind of a publisher whose games I really enjoy. So they have a lot of their stuff on Wargame Vault as well, and I'm going to pop the link for that on there too. So a couple other items of news. I decided not to do any Kickstarter stuff. There isn't a ton of things going on right now Kickstarter wise, as far as I know. I'm probably wrong, but well, when I say a ton, that means a lot. There may be a few, but I'm not aware of anything specifically that it hasn't already finished or isn't still upcoming. But I did want to talk about a sale that I saw on Decision Games on their website. So they're having a month-long sale for February. A bunch of games, 15 to or 20 to 50% off, I think it actually is. And that includes their whole folio line. So there are a lot of good games in the folio line. I've played probably 5 or so, and I have yet to have a bad experience with those. They're relatively inexpensive. They're very straightforward. It's one sheet, usually like 11 by 17 map. Not a ton of counters, so something you can easily pack up and take with you if you're traveling for business or vacation or whatever. Whip it out and play it. Very easy setup. The rules are typically 3-4 pages long. So I'm actually a fan of the folio series from Decision Games, but they also have some of their boxed stuff on there, both older and more recent things. So obviously Decision has a lot in their catalog, and you can check that out and see what's available there. Just head over to their website, decisiongames.com, I think it is. The other thing I wanted to mention, and it's coming to an end soon, that is the Steam Next Fest. And specifically with that, because it's geared toward games that are coming out soon, so you get kind of an early look at some of those, is the Headquarters World War II game that I did recently. So there's a video for that on the website, on the channel currently. From Slytherin, that one you can get the demo, play the tutorial, and the first mission of the German campaign. So check that out if you'd like. You only have a couple days left, I believe, at this point. But there are other games from them. Their Starship Troopers game has a new DLC. That's on there. They also have the Terminator Dark Defiance game, their Stargate Timekeepers game, both of which are kind of tactical, real-time tactical games, which are a lot of fun if you enjoy that type of thing. They're both excellent games with obviously cinematic tie-ins. And then there's also Master of Magic has a new DLC that adds, I think it's called Scourge of the Seas, and it adds pirates to the mix, and there aren't a lot of games that probably don't benefit at least a little bit from the addition of some pirates, right? So check that one out as well. But that's going to do it for this month's channel update. I do appreciate everybody taking the time to check it out. I want to thank everyone for supporting the channel, and hopefully you'll come back and check out future videos and everything here on the Hexed Countered channel. But for now, that's going to do it. I'm Joe. Thank you for watching. And I'd like to wish everyone, as always, as I wrap this up, happy gaming.